You guys okay with that? You gonna do me a favor? Yes. I want all of you right now, you're gonna close your eyes. Nobody's gonna come at you or anything, okay? I promise you. I just want you to close your eyes. We're gonna do this little exercise together. You guys ready? Yeah. You close your eyes. And I want you to imagine right now. Right? Imagine a life that you get up in the morning and you have all the energy in the world. That you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. You are full of energy, not just in the morning, but all the way through the day until you're ready to go to bed at night and you still have some juice. Just imagine that. No aches and pain when you get up. 40, 50, 60 years old. You can hang out with your kids and your grandkids whenever you want. You can hang out with your spouse whenever you want. You can go on trips if you choose to. When your kids are calling you to take care of the kids, you're not mad at them because they're asking you to take care of them. You're just like, you're thrilled that you have the opportunity to do that. Right? 50, 60, 70, 75 years old. Right? Having the ability to just get up in the morning and do whatever you want. Right? Whatever you see fit, you have the ability to do that. No question asked. No fear. You completely trust your body that you can do that. Right? Every single day until the last day. How's that sound? We're not done yet. Keep your eyes closed. Versus being 30, 35, 40, 45, and you get up in the morning, your joints are hurting. You think you're getting old. Right? You're telling yourself that you're falling apart, and that must be normal because you're getting older. You get to be 50, 55, 60 years old, right? Your kids are asking you to do things with them you don't want to do it because you don't feel good. Maybe because you're waiting for your next doctor's appointment or the next diagnosis that's going to be revealed to you because, you've been falling apart for many years now, right? Cannot even go to the mail to get your mail because you can't walk that long, it's too far. Your kids ask you to go on trips with them, you can't do it. You can't go hiking, you can't go on trips, you can't go on a long car ride because you don't have the stamina to do that. And then at some point in time when you're 60, 65, 70, we put you into an assisted living home, right? And then your list of medication is so big that somebody needs to monitor that every day. As a matter of fact, when your family comes and see you, you don't even know what's in front of you. Right? And those are the last day of your life. If I were to ask you tonight, if you had the choice between picking the first story versus this last one that I just shared with you, which one would you pick? Right? It's kind of a no-brainer. I'm not going to ask you any trick question tonight. Obviously, that's the first. But my question to you is, you want that. Every one of you here, if I say, hey, you know what, A or B, you want A for sure. Right? You don't have to raise your hand. I already know the answer. But the next question is, are you committed to make sure that this is going to happen? So in the next hour or so together, right, I want to show you the most effective way, the most natural way, the most powerful way to be healthy and to stay healthy while minimizing the deadly effect of chronic illnesses like heart disease and cancer and diabetes and dementia. All those chronic illnesses that people have, and really, if you choose to, you don't have to. Right? That's a choice. There's no right or wrong choice. They're just choices, and there's consequences to the choice that you make. So I want you guys to be thinking about that tonight as we're going through this. Maybe some of you are like, hey, like you've never heard this before. And if you have, I want you to ask yourself, say, self, what have I been doing with this information thus far? Right? I want you to ask yourself that question. There's two kinds of people that go to the gym. There's the first type, right? When they go to the gym, they have a corporate wellness membership. What that means is they go into the locker room, they sit there, they read the paper for an hour, and after an hour they go take a shower, and then they go to work. It's called a corporate wellness membership. Or maybe some of you, even better, for the past 12 to 15 months, you've been paying an app, right, that is telling you when to work out, how to work out, the kind of workout that you're going to do, but yet you haven't used it at all. Versus the person that will go to the gym, that are going to put their shorts on, that they're actually going to do it, regardless if they want to or if they feel like it or not, right? Who do you think is going to that's going to get the greatest benefit in the next 90 days? Person A, person B. Obviously, that's the person that takes action. Having great information but yet doing nothing about it, it's not going to take you anywhere. Does that make sense? I'm just preparing you right now because I've been doing this for a little while. So I kind of know how things goes. Right? People are, oh, Dr. Johnny, that was great. I'm like, having great information, doing nothing about it, then it's not going to do me or you any good. Does that make sense? Right? How many of you here at some point in time you read a great book and you intended to do something with what you read, but yet it's still in the night table? Am I the only one? Right? So some people have done that. I'm not the only one. So the goal here tonight is to say, hey, you know what? Whatever this information I'm going to get inside, what's my next step? By the time it's all said and done tonight, we'll give you the opportunity. I'll give you the opportunity to do something about it if you choose to. Right? Some of you here, as we go through this tonight, then you might be mistaken passion versus anger. So I'm not sure how it's going to come out, so you'll see. Right? I'm very passionate about what I do. There's good reason for that, and I'll share some of that with you right now. But you'll have a great understanding that most of those things that I'm going to share with you is because I've been right in the middle of it, early on in my life. Right? If you don't know that about me, I have a passion for health, and there's first and foremost is I grew up on a farm. Right? So my mom and my dad, they married when they were very young. My mother was 17 years old. My father was 22 at the time. And when they married, my mother did not know that my dad had some problem with his blood sugar. So some of you heard that before. And what happened is shortly after they married, my mother found my dad on the ground. She thought he was dead. And the reason why he was on the ground, he was in a deep coma. So she took him to the hospital. By the time they got to the hospital, they found out that my father was in a diabetic coma. My mom did not know that at the time. And a few days later, when my father came out of the hospital, they told him that he was a diabetic. And then they said to him, they're like, hey, for the rest of your life, you're going to have to give yourself a shot of insulin. And my father started to do that at age 22, started to do that every morning at 6 a.m., give himself a shot of insulin. And then in the afternoon, when his blood sugar would start dropping down, he would start eating cake, cookies, candies, and ice cream. Did that every day for 8 years. At the end of 8 years, by the time he got to be 30 years old, my father had developed this condition called peripheral neuropathy. And if you don't know what that is, from his knees down, he couldn't feel his legs. You could literally take a knife and just jab him in his legs, and he would start bleeding. He did not even know what was happening to him. In less than 5 years, my dad was 3/4 blind. And the reason why I remember that very clearly is because as a young man, I was less than 5 years old at the time, he would come into the bedroom at 4:30 a.m. in the morning, which is the dream of every farmer, right? I mean, if you've never farmed, you don't know that, but if you farm, you know those people to get up early. And he would come into the bedroom and say, son, it's time to get up. And I'd be like, what for? Right? He's 5 years old at the time. And then he says, well, you're going to be driving a tractor, and I'm going to tell you where to go because I can't see. And in less than 1 year, my dad was completely blind. And then what happened is he lost 40 pounds really quickly, just like that, because he was depressed and he couldn't work anymore. He couldn't do anything. And then he was confined to the house. By the time he was confined to the house, my father would spend about 20 hours a day in bed. And because he was so skinny and he was diabetic and he didn't heal, his body did not heal the way it should have been, right? He started to develop a bed sore. And when the bed sore first started, it was about the size of a quarter, but in less than 6 months, the quarter was like this big around. You could literally see every single layer of the flesh all the way down to the bone. Right? The doctor would come in with his little black bag every week, and he would just run into the house, would go right into the bedroom. By the time he got there, they would remove this little piece of tape off his hip, right? And they would just they would clean that up, and they would put some new ointment until the next visit. By the time my dad he turned to be 40 years old at the age of 40. This was July 12, 1982. Right? My father spent 20 hours a day in bed. He would go into the living room for a couple hours. Somebody would spoon feed him because he couldn't, take care of himself. Either my older sister did that or my mom. Right? Just a short 3 months later, by the time September came around, one day what happened is my mother did not know what to do with him, so she called the ambulance, and by the time the ambulance came in, the 2 paramedics comes in, they go right into the bedroom, and by the time they got there, they looked at my mom, they're like, hey, we need to take him in. They load him up on the stretcher, they roll him back out, and as they're rolling him out, right, my 2 brothers were right next to me, my 2 sisters were next to me, and my mother was right there in the corner. Right at the time, I was 8 years old, my brother was 7 years old, my other brother was 6 years old, my sister was 11 years old, 12 years old, and then my mom had just turned 30 or so. 35. And then I looked at my mom and I said, where are they taking Dad? And my mom did not answer. And then I asked her again a second time, I said, where are they taking him? And she didn't answer. And I quickly realized as a young man that being a good provider was not the most important thing. You know that over the past 22 years, I've been taking care of thousands of families in this community, in this town, in this state. When people lose their health, they don't know how to get it back, and when they have their health, they don't know how to keep it. Think about that for a minute. People lose their health, they don't know how to get it back. When they have their health, they don't know how to keep it. And that's what I realized as a young age, you know, as being a young man, right, that being a good provider was not the most important thing. So as we go through this here tonight, I'm not going to tell you anything that you don't already know. You're going to be like, I know this. I know it. I know it. I know it. Right? Maybe I'll just mix it up a little bit. But I promise you that most of that stuff you already know. Right? Knowing and doing are two different things. So I want to share some of this stuff. You know, it's called Eating God's Way, and many, you know, a long time ago, over 10 plus years ago, Dr. Denise shared with you guys, is I started to just, you know, go through the scripture, and especially for people that were believers, you know, to be able to go back to the source, because oftentimes people are asking me, they're like, hey, what kind of diet do you believe in? What kind of diet should I be on? I'm like, oh, I should be on God's diet. Mm-hmm. So tonight we're going to be talking about God's diet, and then see what you think about that. Right? By the time it's all said and done, I will be answering some questions if you have any questions, and hopefully you guys won't give me a hard time. Maybe you will. Okay? So let's begin. We've already imagined there's a class that I do on those three circles, but every time that I ask people if they want to have more of God in their life, you know, everybody raise their hand. You don't have to do that, but most people want that, right? If they're a believer, they're like, yeah, I'd like to have more in my life. And I want to show you this here. It says that those three big circle one, it says spirit, soul, and body. Your body has the least authority in this whole thing. Now, unfortunately, in this day and age, living in this world, right? My question to you tonight is, are you running your body or your body's running you? Is that a good question? Mm-hmm. Who's running who? Right? In Romans 12, 1 and 2, it says, you know me, I'm in this world, but I'm in the world, but I'm not, you know, I'm part of this world, but I'm not being ran by the world. So I want you to think of this as we go through this. It says who we should follow, God's way or man's way. So here it says, if you can't see that, it says the human and financial cost of chronic illnesses are staggering. In the U.S. alone, heart disease and stroke cost over $1.3 billion, cancer $625 million, diabetes $477 million, being obese $402 million, and digestive disorder $337 million. This is per day. By 2002, the spending on prescription medication alone had reached $3.5 billion per day, and by 2013 had surpassed $7 billion per day. This equates to $292 million per hour, or 4.9 million per minute. It is estimated by 2017 the medical treatment for chronic illnesses will cost $4.3 trillion with a T dollar per year in the U.S. alone, or a per capita basis. $4.3 trillion. Would you say that's a lot of money? That's a lot of money. And all of this money is being burned, right, for chronic illnesses, meaning that, you know, if we were to make different choices, we wouldn't have that at all. It would be non-existent. But yet, this is it. There's only one person that's going to make it to the age of 60 years old with taking no prescription medication. Only one person will make it to the age of 60 years old taking no prescription medication. Right? My mother's 73 years old. She just turned 73 yesterday. I called her yesterday morning at 6 o'clock. She had been on her walk for 5 miles, you know, and she was watching her sermon, whatever she was watching, right? And she's 73 years old. She's taking nothing. Sometimes she whines a lot, and I have to, you know, handle that, but those are for other reasons, right? She's an amazing woman. So here it says, which paradigm are you following? Next week, we're going to have this class right here. It's called Dinner with the Doc. The most important part is we feed people. Otherwise, I wouldn't have anybody coming in, okay? That's a joke. So we have this thing called Dinner with the Doc, and you know, the title of this thing is called The 3 Different Health Paradigms. That's what we talk about. Right? A paradigm is the ideas that, what do you believe to be true about health? Every one of you here tonight, you need to be asking that question. What do you believe to be true about health? Right? If you don't understand really what health is, then all the question and answer that you will be asking for the rest of your life is always going to be wrong. Some of you here tonight might be like, hey, when I go see the doctor and I have high blood pressure and I get a pill, and then my blood pressure goes back down to 120/80, and the doctor said, hey, your numbers look good, right? We're managing your blood pressure. If you think that this is health, right, it really has nothing to do with health. It has to do with managing your numbers. It just means that we're going to kill you slowly and softly, right? And if you like that, that's okay, but that's the truth. Whether you like the truth or not, I'm just telling you this is what's happening. If I were to ask any one of you here tonight and say, hey, you know what, do you think you're healthier if you take more drugs or if you take less drugs? What would most people say? For some reason, I've never had anybody say, oh, if I take more drugs, I'll be healthier. People don't say that. But yet, people are completely okay with the idea that they're going to go see their doctor, they're taking 5 prescription medication, and they're okay with their doctor telling them that, hey, you know what, we're managing your disease, you're good. How can you be thinking this way? The only reason why you can be thinking this way is because of that. Right? It's because you follow this sickness paradigm, meaning that if you have no symptoms, you think you're fine because you're feeling fine. And what I want to share with you tonight is, guess what? There's plenty of people dying every day, and guess what? They don't have any symptoms. As a matter of fact, 5 out of 6 people in this country will die from either heart disease or cancer, and those are 2 diseases that the vast majority of the time people don't even have symptoms. They just like, they have a heart attack, they croak over. Or they have stage 4 cancer, they don't know they have it. So I want you to think of that for a minute. 5 out of 6 people in this country either going to die from heart disease or cancer. Would you like to be the one that it doesn't happen to? For some reason, you know, people raise their hand. They're like, yes, sign me up for that. And I'm like, yeah, but guess what? If you don't really know what health is, it's never going to happen to you. You're going to be like, just like the other 5 out of 6. And unfortunately, it happens. So in Hosea 4:6 here, it says, my people will be destroyed for lack of, right? In 1 Corinthians 6:19, it says, do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own, for you were bought with a price, so glorify God in your life. So I want you to think of this here when you meditate on the scripture here for a little bit. It's like, hey, the way that you've been treating your body, that I've been treating my body, have I been honoring this body that God's given? Do you think that if you eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta every day, 365 days a year, and you eat your ice cream, and you do all this stuff, and you do this day in and day out, that you're honoring what was given to you? What do you think? No. How do you think that? I mean, it's still amazing that people can go to McDonald's for 40 years and they're still standing. I mean, it happens, right? People are like, you know, I just eat their salad. I'm like, yeah, their salad is probably going to last on your counter for the next 9 months. We don't know what they're putting in their salad. Right? But I want you to think of that for a minute. Right? It's not about perfection, but it's about consistency. It's not about perfection, it's about consistency. Your health is your wealth. Your health is a journey, it's not a destination. So some of you might be like, hey, when am I going to get there? I'm like, I don't know. I've got 5 kids, you know, and you go on a car trip, and they're on the back seat, and they're like, are we there yet? I'm like, no, I'll tell you when we get there. It's going to take a long time, right? And I want you to know tonight that for every one of you here, with no exception, when people are like, are we there yet? I'm like, no, you're never going to be there, right? People get off the table, they walk out of the room, they're like, am I done yet? I'm like, no, you're never going to be done. You're done for today. Right? There's more for you. There's more for every one of you here in this room. I just want you to know that. You're never going to be done. Right? When you overcome one thing, it's going to be the next thing. When you're done with COVID-19, it's going to be the next thing. Did you guys not know that? Your body is in a constant state of adaptation. So guess what? We're being assaulted every single day. So something else is going to happen. It's going to happen physically, emotionally, chemically. It happens every day. So just be okay with that. There's more. There's more crap coming your way, just so you know. Right? It's coming. The reason why you have those beautiful diamonds is because diamonds are made where there's like extreme amount of pressure and heat. Yes? Same thing with a pearl. How can you make a pearl? It needs a lot of friction. So unless that there's tension and friction, you know you're not going to get better. This is just part of this journey. So this next one here, it says, and God said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seeds that is on the face of all the earth, and every tree with seeds in its fruit, you shall have them for food. It doesn't say here you should have cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta. It doesn't say that. I mean, I looked it up. I mean, you can do a search now pretty quickly through the entire scripture, and it doesn't say that. Right? Here it talks about seeds. Right? It talks about plant. It doesn't say about cake, cookies, candies, and ice cream. It doesn't say that. Right? And I just want to set the record straight tonight just to make sure that you understand that when people have chronic illnesses, oftentimes those are the people that are asking me that question. They're like, Dr. Jean-Guy, I mean everything with moderation. And I'm like, no, you can't think like that. You're already dying. How can you be thinking this way? You're half dead. You cannot just say everything with moderation. You're half dead. Do you understand? That just doesn't work this way. You've been beating up your body for decades and now you want to do things with moderation? No, no. The answer is no. It just doesn't work. That's silly to think this way. You're never going to get better. Right? I mean, if you have no chronic illnesses, you know, and you're not taking any drugs and you're working out 6 days a week and, you know, yeah, you can do things with moderation. I mean, go for it. The problem is it's not the vast majority of you guys. Right? Every room of 100 people that we have in the room, half of the room going to die from heart disease, the other 2/3 going to die from cancer, and the other 1/3 of the front are going to die from something that is related to overweight. That's going to be some type of chronic illnesses. Right? So we can't think this way. I'm not mad, I'm just like excited.
Yeah.
I want you to understand that. That's the truth. Right? This next one here, it says, every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. How about that? Right? I mean, those cows, they eat grass. I mean, they are vegetarian, really. Right? If they're moving. And then it says, as I gave you the green plants, it doesn't say like cookies or ice cream. It says I gave you everything. Yes? It's right there. Okay? This next one here, it says in Daniel, many of you have seen this before, it says, please test your servant for 10 days. Give us nothing but vegetables and drink water. And then in the end of those 10 days, you know, they look healthier and better nourished than the young men who ate, you know, the crap. They probably had cake, cookies, candies, and ice cream. You know? Who knows what they had?
Seeds.
See what I'm saying? Right, this next one here, oh, those, I mean, don't they look good? I mean, let's just be honest, they do look good. I remember when I was in chiropractic school, we had a great time. I mean, Krispy Kreme, when it says they're hot, right? They're hot! They're hot! Come and get some! They were like calling our names. The good thing here in our town is Krispy Kreme went out of business. Maybe I did enough lecture that between me and a few other people in town that, you know, this is like, those are nuts, in case you just don't know what those look like. Yes. It's amazing that people will say things like, Dr. Jean-Guy, I don't drink water because water tastes bad. I'm like, I didn't know water tasted anything. But you know what? The reason why that real food is not tasting good to you is because they put so many chemicals into the fake food that you don't know the difference anymore. You know those little kids when they don't know anything, when they don't know any better, you can give them the most awful things to eat or to chew on, and they're just going to take it. They're going to chew on fish oil every day, all day long, on stuff that smells bad, tastes bad, look bad, but they're going to take it. And they're going to develop their taste bud. Right? Matter of fact, that if you start changing today and you start eating real food, it's going to happen to you too, because that can be reversed if you choose to, which is pretty amazing. Right? If you choose to. So here it says in number 11:5, it says, remember the fish we ate in Egypt. that cost nothing. Cucumbers, melon, leeks, onions, garlic. No cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, red rice, and pasta. It just doesn't say that. Can you guys see that? You know those guys, they're just like, God is not nice to us. We had all this food before. And this was all this great stuff that we're having. Right? This is fish, in case you've never had a piece of that. Right? Food. What should you be eating? What kind of diet should I be on? You should be eating food. Yes?
Yes.
Food. What do you think about the 30-day diet? What about the 45-day diet? What about the fasting diet? What about this magic other diet? What about this new book? What do you think, Dr. Junkie? What about the whole 30, the whole 45, and the minus 19? I'm like, are you like, of course, right? People will try to rationalize everything they want to rationalize in their mind. As long as it fits their boat, that's what they're going to go for this week. Right? I'm just telling you that if all of us here starting today, we go back to the basic, all of us can benefit from just doing the basic. And you won't have to be on a special diet. Who wants to be on a diet anyway? Any one of you want to be on a diet? No. Who wants to be on a diet? Nobody! Okay? Nobody wants to be on a diet. I mean, really, just be honest. Who wants to be on a diet? Right? No one. That's silly. You go on a diet and you do this continuously. Right? Why would you do that? Trying to punish yourself. Anybody can do something good for the next 3 days. Right? Maybe you can do it good for a week. Your health is your wealth. Your health, if this is a journey, it's not a destination. It's not just 1 week. Right? So I want to encourage you, every one of you here tonight, if I say, hey, how long should you be working out for? How long?
Forever.
Forever. How long should you be drinking water for?
Forever.
How long should you be, exercising for?
Forever.
When are you going to stop?
Never.
What makes you think you're going to be on diet for a week and everything's going to be great? It's just not going to happen. Right? People would say to me, Dr. Jean, yeah, I tried this working out thing for a month. That doesn't work for me. I'm like, what are you talking about? Right? I tried to eat good for a month. That didn't work for me. I'm still fat. I'm like, I bet you are. I mean, what do you expect? You've been eating crap your whole life. There's a bunch of chemicals. And then do you know how your body's protecting you against chemicals and heavy metals? It stores it in your fat. That's the only way you can be protected. Otherwise, you'd be dead by now. Right? It's a protection mechanism. If you don't understand how your body works, you need to learn a little bit of that, then you'll fall in love with your body, then you understand the reason why your body's not going to let go of this fat. It's trying to protect you. Right? Your fat cells are store cells, stores for the crap. So when your body is not efficient, it's not really good at doing this because you're all clogged up everywhere in every elimination channel, your body's going to keep everything. It's going to try to protect you. It's pretty smart. Right? But when you don't understand that, you're just, the only thing you're focused on is like, I'm fat. Yeah. So, being skinny and not being healthy, does that really matter? No. Think about that for a minute. Right? So in the book of Proverbs, it says, my son, eat honey, for it is good, and the dripping of the honeycomb are sweet to your taste. Honey. You can have honey. Honey. That's sweet. Honey. Yes? Honey. That's honey. Yes? Honey? Okay. This one here is a good one. 2 Chronicles 16:11 through 13. Right? And so it says, note that the acts of Asa, first and last, are indeed written in the book of Kings of Judah and Israel. It says that in the 39 years of his reign, right, Asa became diseased in his feet, and his malady was severe, yet in his disease he did not seek the Lord but the physician. That's amazing to me that people put more, right? They have more faith in the doctors than they have faith in, who made them.
Yeah.
I don't spend much time talking about COVID-19, but I'm going to spend 30 seconds. You guys ready?
No.
Only 30 seconds. Fasten your seatbelt. Are you ready? I just want you to know that. For the past 15 months, they've been telling all of us, you, me, and everybody else, put your mask, maybe 2, maybe 3. Right? Stay in your house. Don't leave. Put your gloves on. Right? Use bleach on everything that you touch. Don't exercise anymore. Just watch TV. Right? Just watch the news. Right? I want you to think of this for a minute. And I guess if you think it's okay, that's fine with me. But it's not, really. Okay? You can do whatever you want. That's not fine with me. Right? But nobody talks about, hey, how can we make our body healthier? So if you were to be healthier, if you get COVID-19, then you can overcome it. How's that sound? Would that make like sense, maybe? Right? I want you to think here for a minute. How silly is that? Right? It just makes no sense. But yet, we've gone through this the past 15 months, and people they're so emotionally charged by what we've been through the past 15 months, which is sad, right? People can't come out of it. And as a result of that, right, mental health, suicide, all those things have gone up. And people that will be affected for the rest of their life because they're in fear. People are like, Dr. John Key, have you seen people with COVID? I'm like, I don't know, probably. I've seen them before, a while after. I've seen them all. Right? Aren't you scared? Yeah, really. I'm scared. Who do you have faith in? What do you have faith in?
There you go.
Right? What do you believe? Do you believe that your body is stupid? If you believe that, this is the first problem. And I want to encourage you tonight. I want to be an encourager for you, right? To just say, hey, your body's not stupid. Matter of fact, your body, your immune system has been dealing with a bunch of microbes and viruses your entire life, right? Yeah. Your entire life. Every one of you here with no exception. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't have any wisdom. I'm not telling you that this is not real. I'm just telling you that one of the things that we've been missing the past 15 months is people haven't talked enough about your body's ability that how can we make ourselves stronger? If we watch less TV, we exercise more, right? We make sure that the food that you're putting in your body is like real food. It's not junk, right? Let's say that your brain and nervous system is functioning properly, that you're optimizing every system of your body so you can be, your body can work on all cylinders. Don't you think that if and when maybe you were to get COVID-19, which, all of you are going to get it, or even if you didn't get it yet, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time, right? Some of you are like, oh, really? I'm scared. Yeah. I'm like, it's going to happen. Maybe you already got it. You don't even know you have it. Right. Okay? That's the reality of it, right? And I want you guys to know that, hey, you know what? There's one thing that all of you here can do. Do you have control over this virus? No. This virus has a mind on its own. I mean, did you know that? Who here believe that you can control every single variable that I'm gonna stay cooped up in my house, and he's never gonna show up in my house. Right? Is that like silly? Yeah. And all of you already know this, when everybody goes along with this thing, you walk in the restaurant, you have this thing on, then you take it off and you're sitting down there in the same, it's like, what kind of circus is that? And I guess we all trying to do the right thing, but at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, right? When it's all said and done, I just want you to think about that for a minute. When it's all said and done, I want all of you here to think when you leave tonight to say, you know what, my body after all is not that stupid. You have an immune system, and there's a reason why you have one, right? I mean, you just have, the best thing that you can do for your immune system is you take your kids upside down and you drag them by their feet in the dirtiest corner of the house and you just drag them. And you don't clean. That's the best thing you can do for them. The worst thing that you can do is to clean everything all the time and thinking that's the best thing you can do for your immune system and trying to stay away from every bugs. And using every chemical that you can go buy in the store to try to kill everything. That's so silly to do that. Right? Why would you do that? Just eat some dirt. That's good. I mean, it is. You have no idea. It's good. What do you have to worry about? Right? If you were to eat less sugar and more dirt, that would help you out. Seriously. Right? Growing up on the farm, did a lot of that. Matter of fact, when I first met my wife, I would go to a farmer's market, and my stepkids would, I'd be just grabbing like every vegetable, and I stick them right in my mouth, and they're like, yeah, why would you do that? I'm like, those are pretty clean to me. I mean, I used to eat them with the dirt, maybe my face wasn't in the dirt, and when I ate those on the farm. I mean, that's not a big deal, right? A little dirt's not going to kill any one of you here. Just so you know, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You need to have faith. right? You need to know that your body was designed to be healthy. That's the first thing that you need to stand on. That's the premise. Your body was designed to be healthy. Okay, we keep moving along. But this is amazing here that I want you to check this out here. 2 Chronicles 16, 11 through 13, right? That more faith in the doctor than you have faith in who made you. I'm not telling you that there's no room in place for the doctor, but every time that there's a mom that comes to me that has a new baby and they go to the pediatrician, right? The mother is like, what is the doctor going to think? I'm like, who cares? Who do you think knows the doctor more than anybody? Who knows your baby more than anybody else? Who do you think? Do you think you, the mom, or the doctor knows more? What do you think? It's like a no-brainer. I'm not telling you that you should not have a relationship with the doctor and, doctors don't have a place. I think we do, right? However, to think that the doctor knows more than the person that made you, than the creator, that's a problem. Yeah. This next one here, there's two different versions. The NIV, it says, and because of the abundance of milk they give, there will be curds to eat, and all who remains in the land will eat curds and honey. So here we go. Curds and honey. Jeremiah 29:11, it says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans of welfare, not for evil, and to give you a future and hope. So that means that, hey, you know what? He's got your back. Just so you know. He does. The question is, do you believe that? Right? Do you believe that? I would like to encourage you tonight, by the time you leave this place, that I would like to encourage you to just know that you were designed to be healthy. God wants you to be healthy. And we have a plan to be healthy. We just need to follow the plan. Now, you can choose not to follow the plan. And I want to talk to you about the cost tonight. Are you ready? I mean, you're just going to pay one way or the other. Are you ready? It's either you're going to invest now, you're going to invest in your health while you have joy, right? And you have the ability to follow through and to have a plan to be healthy and to stay healthy, or it's going to cost you. Do you know what that means? It's going to cost you. By the time you get to the nursing home and you're in a wheelchair and you're drooling all over yourself, it's going to cost you. Meaning that you're going to take all your drugs, all the money's going to come out of your bank account, somebody else is going to be using it, but not you, right? And they're going to be happy to travel with it. Do you understand that? People are like, oh, I don't want to spend one penny because this is expensive. I'm like, yeah, that's expensive to be sick. Right? How about when you get kidney dialysis and every time that you go to the hospital and you get one of those 3 times a week, it's $900 a pop? How's that sound? That costs a lot of money. I'm like, yeah. Plus, you can't do anything. You're sick. Right? You go to the hospital 3 days a week and you're just bound to be there and you can't go anywhere. How's that sound? Sounds like fun, isn't it? No. Right? So when a person says, hey, that costs a lot, I'm like, hey, you know what? That's an investment. You know when it's going to cost you a lot? It's when you're sick and dying, right? And you're sitting on the couch and you're waiting for the next doctor's appointment and you don't know who's in front of you. That's a big cost. Which one would you prefer? Right? Do you think that your kids, they want to see you in a nursing home drooling all over yourself, or they'd like you to be able to enjoy them, enjoy your grandkids, being able to spend time with them, to go on vacation with them if you choose to? Which one do you think they'd rather do? Right? My kids, I've got 2 teenagers at home, and they're so excited to be able to see my mom again, which they don't know because she lives in communism Canada. I mean, let's just face it. I mean, that's the truth. It's bad. Right? The 4th wave is coming. That's sad. She says I'm joking. I'm not really joking. I know. If you're not from there, you don't know. In March, over a year ago, when my brother left the house, told my mom, he's like, you better disinfect the doorknob. And I'm not going to tell you, some of you know because I've told you that, but, my mom just flipped the bird. That's what she did. She's like, hey, you know what, it's my time, I'm out of here. And good for her, right? Good for her, because I want you to think of this here for a minute. Living your whole life in fear, you may as well not live your life. Yeah. Right? I know I'm I'm supposed to talk to you about this nutrition thing, and I'm more than willing to do this all night long. But if you don't have the right mindset that goes behind it, all of you here, you know that you need to eat good food. You need to eat better. All of you already know that. I don't know why you're here. You're just like, I don't know what maybe he's going to entertain me one more time. Maybe he's going to say something that, I haven't heard before. Your mindset is more important than anything else. What's been said to me over the past 15 months or so is when people come in and they think they're going to die. And their spirit is whipped completely because they truly believe that. Right? The first month that when this started in March of last year, we had 2 people committing suicide in our office. Right? That's sad. But that's not the only 2 people. There's thousands of them. What about mental health? Right? So again, I want to circle back. COVID or no COVID doesn't matter. I want you to know, right, that you have a God-given right to be healthy if you choose to. Yeah. Right? And if you know that, that's a good start. Because you know that this is possible. Matter of fact, I want to tell you about chronic illnesses. If you have done things to cause you chronic illnesses like heart disease and cancer and diabetes, if you've done things that have caused you to be there with high blood pressure and high cholesterol and all this stuff, then there's something that you can do to reverse it too. If you could cause it, then you could just undo it too, if you choose to. The next thing that I want to tell you tonight is some of you in your mind, you truly believe this, you believe the lie. If you tell a lie long enough, you're just going to think it's the truth, right? I mean, we've seen this in the past 15 months. If you tell the lie enough, then people think it's true, and then everybody's scared. It's like telling people who are like, hey, you know what, I have high blood pressure because, it's genetic. Everybody has it in my family. I'm like, hey, the only thing that runs in your family is silliness, right? When people do the same thing one generation after another, and they all eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, red rice, and pasta, and they don't exercise, they sit on their butt, they watch TV, guess what? The outcome is going to be the same. How can you have a different outcome? It's going to be the same. The definition of insanity is to do something over and over again expecting a different result. You can't expect something different if you keep doing the same thing as what your mother, your father, all the generations before have done. I want you to think of this for a minute. And if I don't make sense, I want you to tell me right now. This person years ago, she's like, hey, when there's like, did you know that they found a new, like they have a hangover gene? And I tell people, like, if you don't drink, you won't get a hangover. Right? I mean, is that stupid? Genes, something needs to activate them. Okay? All of us here in this room, we all have bad genes. But you need to activate them. If you don't drink, you're not going to get a hangover. Do you understand? There's hundreds of thousands of women that have breast cancer gene that are like bad gene. They're a bad gene. And guess what? They don't have breast cancer. So what does that mean? That means something needs to activate it. Right? So this idea to think because you have bad gene that you're doomed to have cancer and you're doomed to have heart disease and you're doomed to have like high blood pressure and cholesterol, whatever lies, that you were told, right? I want you to know that it's not true. But at the same time, I also want you to know that, this idea to think, well, I'm going to do everything with moderation, that's also not true. Right? To think that you're so far gone now that you're going to continue doing things with moderation, that doesn't work. You cannot just eat a half gallon of ice cream every other day thinking it's moderation. That doesn't work this way. That'd be silly. People sometimes, they come and look at me and they tell me stuff and I know they're not telling me the truth. They're just like eating crap in the closet. It's pretty obvious. Listen, you're not lying to me. Right? It's only happening to yourself. So I want you to understand that, hey, you know what? Don't do this for other people. Just do it for you. When God put a calling on you, guess what? You got a mission. You got to run to race. Right? What is your mission? What are you here for? And that leads me to tell you that if your why is not big enough, you're not going to do it. Right? Some of you are like, oh, I know all this stuff. How am I going to make this happen? Because your why needs to be big enough. Right? You want to be healthy? Why do you want to be healthy? Now, some of you would be like, well, I want to be healthy because I want to be here for my kids. I'm like, well, if you were to be here for your kids, what would that do for you? Well, I could play with them. Well, if you could play for them, what would that do? Well, they would enjoy it. Well, if they were to enjoy it, what would that do for you? Right? Well, that would give a break to my kids. Well, if you were to give a break to your kids, what would that do for you? Right? Your why needs to be big enough, and you have to go deep into this rabbit hole, because if it's not big enough, you're not going to do it. Because it's not going to matter. There's not a good reason for you to do it. If I say to any one of you here tonight who wants to be healthy, everybody's going to raise their hand. Right? But then if I say to you, I mean, who's committed to be healthy 100%, I don't think I would have that many hands to be like, that will come up. There's a difference between wanting something and being committed to something. Those are two different things. Right? But in order to do that, you have to, your why needs to be big enough. Right? Some of you will be like, well, Dr. Jean-Guy, I mean, how do you help people with this or with that? Does it really matter? How I do it, right? The how and what, it doesn't matter. I can tell you how I can reverse, people that have neuropathy, and how I can help people with, high blood pressure, and I can help people with chronic illnesses, but it doesn't really matter. I can tell you all of this, but guess what? If your why is not big enough, you're still not going to do it. Right? People are like, well, I want you to guarantee me. Well, the only guarantee you have is you're going to die and you're going to pay taxes. That's the only two things that are guaranteed in life. Right? Dr. Jean-Guy, can you guarantee me that if I drink water, I'm going to be healthier? I'm like, hey, it's a no-brainer. I can't guarantee you that, but I just know that, water versus beer. I don't know. Water versus wine. I don't know. Water versus 5-hour energy. I don't know. Water versus, whatever crap you're putting in your body right now. Who knows? It's a no-brainer. Prove it to me. I mean, do I really have to? Right? What the FDA says that, whatever. Whatever they say. Just think about this. Do you think they really have your back? Do you think they really care about you? We've been eating less fat than ever before, but yet we're fatter than we've ever been. How's that working out? I mean, just think about this. For the past 50 years, we've been eating less fat than ever before, because they've been telling all of you that fat is bad, but yet we're fatter than we've ever been. What do you think? You tell me. Right? There's still people coming to the office, they're like, I don't eat butter, I only eat margarine. I'm like, okay. How's that sound? How's that working out for you? If you tell a lie enough time, it'll become the truth. People believe that. Right? People believe that. In Jeremiah 41 it says, but there were 10 men amongst them who said to Ishmael, right, do not put us to death, for we have stores of wheat, barley, oil, and honey hidden in the field. Right? This word right here, some of you, you're just like, well, you talk about not having bread, and here it says wheat. Jesus did feed 15,000 people with fish and bread, and I'm like, hey, I'm sure it was not the crappy bread that you guys are eating right now. Think about that. It was like holy bread. I don't know what that was, but I'm sure it was better than the 10 loaves of bread that you're buying right now in the store for $2. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. People are like, well, I really need to have bread. I'm like, no, you don't. I mean, you could have none. You don't really need to. But you think you do. I mean, I don't know where you got that from. You don't need to. You don't have to eat any bread. I'm going to die if I don't eat that. I mean, that's the only thing that can satisfy my hunger. I'm like, I don't know. When people say that, I just want to laugh. I'm like, where'd you get that from? Somehow, some way, in their mind, that's what they believe. Right? So what happened is in this country right now, as we speak, the corn, the soy, and the wheat, 90% of it is genetically modified. Right? So then what happened is your body doesn't know what to do with it, and as a result of that, it makes people sick. That's okay. We can give more drugs to people. Right? This young man came to your office, this was like 3-4 months ago. He had been having gut problems his entire life from the time he was born. Matter of fact, the mother says, from the time he was born, he's been crying. He's never stopped crying ever since. Right? So the kid's been crying now for he's 16 years old, and he's, smaller than his brothers, and he's been having gut pain, all of this time. And then, the family, the mother tells me that they've done all kinds of things. They've seen all kinds of doctors. Dozens of them. Real doctors too. Real doctors. Right? The best of the best. And guess what was his problem?
Allergic.
Right? He had been having gut pain because he was sensitive. He was allergic to wheat. He had gluten problems. And every time that he had some of that, his gut hurt. So he's been hurting now for 16 years every day of his life. And after the first month, he comes back to the office, and then his mother says, he says to me, he's like, well, this past month, I only had gut pain one time. And he's all excited, and his mom looks at me, she's like, listen, is there any way, can I do anything to make sure that this kid is not hungry anymore? I'm like, he's been starving for 16 years. I mean, what do you expect? He hasn't been able to eat anything for 16 years because every time he eats, he's in pain. Right? So those grains, they're just like, they're not really good for you. You might think they are. Maybe they taste good. Right? But they're not. So the more that you can avoid them, the better you'll be. Right? The better you'll be, for sure. Ezekiel 4:9, that's why there's like the best and the worst. Ezekiel 4:9, that's a company for the bread. Right? It says, and you take wheat, barley, beans, lentils, millet, emmer, and then that's a type of wheat. Then you put them into a single vessel and make bread from them. Right? If you go to the store and you go into the freezers and you get this Ezekiel 4:9, those are sprouted grain. What they do is they don't make the bread out of flour. They just sprout it. So then it's more heavy, and if you leave it on the counter, right, it's going to get ruined in a few days. Now, some of you, if you were to have a slice of that, you wouldn't want to have like 15 slices of the other white crap that you were eating before that. Right? But that's what people do. They're like, oh, that doesn't taste good. I'm like, hey, since when you're eating for the taste? Who cares? You're eating for fuel, you're not eating for taste. I know some of you would disagree with that and like, oh, it doesn't taste good, I don't want that. I mean, you could do that. But my question to you tonight is, how's that working out for you? I know nothing. But I just know that the closer we get to what God has intended for us, the healthier we'll be. Maybe you don't agree with that, I'm just telling you. If it's man-made, I'm not telling you that men don't have good ideas. I think they do. Sometimes. Right? But if we stay closer to God, I think we're going to be safer. I'm just saying. Okay? This next one here, Ezekiel 47:12, it says, and on the banks, on both sides of the river, they will grow all kinds of trees for food. Their leaves will not, I can't say that word because I'm French. Well, yeah, that's not good. It says, nor their fruit fail, but they will bear fresh fruit every month because of the water for them flows from the sanctuary. Their fruit will be for food, and their leaves will be for healing. Again, they don't say anything about cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, red rice, and pasta. Yes? No. This next one here, Jeremiah 30:17, it says, for I will restore health to you and heal you of your wounds, says the Lord. He wants you to be healthy. I'm just telling you that. Some of you have been missing that part to know that He wants you to be healthy. That's the premise that you should be standing on, that He wants all of you to be healthy with no exception. Right? But He also has given us choices. Every one of you here in this room, you have a choice. Right? You have the choice to either invest in your health or if you wait a little bit longer, it's going to cost you. Either way, right, you're going to have to get it out of your pocket. It's going to happen. It's going to cost you some money. It's going to cost you time. It's going to cost you energy. It's going to happen. Regardless if you like it or not. It will happen. I guarantee you. 100% of the time. Right? Every single time. In 1 Timothy 5, it says, no longer drink only water, but use little wine for the sake of your stomach and your frequent ailments. I know that some of you would be like asking about this little wine thing. It says a little. Did you hear that? It says a little. It doesn't say you should have like a bottle every minute. It doesn't say that. It says a little. Right? Some of you are like, oh, I read this thing, this one time, just about this resveratrol, if you ain't, they're trying to convince me. I'm like, dude, you'd have to drink 3 bottles every night. That's silly. I don't know why you just talk to me with this nonsense. You can just tell yourself, I just like to have wine, and that's fine. But you tell me that you're like, oh, this is like super healthy. I'm like, come on. Let's just be real here for a minute. People come in with a different juice every day, right? Here's the mangosteen juice, and here's this juice, and here's that juice, and if you take this juice, you're going to heal from everything. I'm like, hey, I don't believe that. I believe that God's given us a lot of different things, and guess what? If we put like the raw material into this body has the ability to heal itself, right? But you got to just put some raw material in there, not crap, not man-made stuff, and you got to do this consistently for a period of time so you can experience health, and then you cannot pour diesel fuel into the soil thinking you're going to be healthy. Even if you just eat fruits and vegetables all day, but yet you put diesel fuel in, you're intoxicating yourself. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes people are like, well, I only eat good food, but yet you sit on your butt all day. You cannot just like do one thing and thinking you're going to get everything. It doesn't work this way. We're talking about nutrition tonight, but I want you to know that Dr. John is a fan of health. And if I'm a fan of health, I'm not just a fan of food. I'm a fan of you being healthy. And for you to be healthy, you got to think well, move well, eat well. All those three things are going to be done for a period of time for you to express yourself to the best you, version of you that you can be. You see what I'm saying? Can I get a yes? Yes. You're like, I don't like what I'm hearing. I don't like it. Yes. Right? She's looking at me. She's like, I don't like what I'm hearing. And I'm like, okay. I don't like it either. Right? In 3 John it says, Beloved, it says, I pray that all may go well with you, and that you may be in good health, as it goes well with your spirit. Well done. Yes. Right? I want to remind you, He wants you to be healthy. There's no reason for any one of you here in this room that you wouldn't be healthy. You got to be consistent on your journey. None of us are perfect. 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 But the more that we're like stuck into this world, you know, the worse that we're going to be, especially if we follow the world's way instead of follow God's way.
That's right.
Right? For sure. Right? So we are in this world, but we're not part of it. We are in this world, but we're not part of it. Right? It's just like the Matrix.
Yeah.
I don't like the Matrix. I'm not a Matrix guy. But you know, my wife is like, it's like the Matrix. Okay? She's like, I like it. Right? It says, don't tell me to improve my diet. I ate a carrot once and nothing happened.
Yeah. All right.
You guys are looking at this, you're like, that's silly. But some of you are like, yeah, that's me. But I'm not going to say it. Carrots. It says, do you like honey? Don't eat too much. Or we'll make you sick.
Come on.
Come on. Right? It says, upon everything that creeps on the ground, all the fish of the sea into your hands. They are delivered. Every moving thing that lives be food for you. As I gave you the green plants, I give you everything. Yeah. 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 You guys see that?
Yeah.
So I want you to understand that what needs to come first tonight is your mindset. If you don't understand what health is first, then those other things that you're standing on is not going to be solid. So the decision you make, they're not going to be the right decision. That's the reason why I want to make sure that you guys understand that. Right? So it says what fits your busy schedule better, exercising 1 hour a day, being dead for 24 hours. Which one do you want? Right? I guess if you know that your race is over, that's fine. We all have a race to run, right? Every one of you here, there's a calling in your life. If you think you're done, I guess being dead is a good thing. Go in a better place. But if you believe that you were called for something greater, there's a purpose, the reason why you're here, right? Just think about this. That requires a little bit of investment. You got to think well, move well, eat well. You got to do this on a regular basis in order for you to be the best version of you that you can be, right? So we can continue on this journey here. What kind of enjoyment that you have if you were to be in a wheelchair and you don't know who's in front of you? What kind of enjoyment would you get out of that? Not only, probably you wouldn't even know that you're there in the wheelchair drooling all over yourself because you don't have your mind anymore, but just imagine, right, the position that you're putting other people in your life. So here, what should you avoid? I'm going to make this practical now. It says white flour, also known as white trash. Right? So anything that is white, you want to stay away from. Hydrogenated oil, it comes under 3 different names. Sometimes it says partially hydrogenated oil, or fractionated. Anything that is processed, in the meat department. Stuff that has soy in it, soy, corn, and wheat. Number 4, it says white sugar. And then soft drink, high fructose corn syrup. This is an epidemic today. As a matter of fact, there's a book that's been written. It's called The Fat Switch. And what they have found is when you have a lot of fructose into your diet, it just turns on the switch for fat, and then your body starts mobilizing fat because it goes into a dormant state, like you're going to hibernate. So then you start mobilizing fat, and it's not leaving, right? It's like hanging out with you forever. And one last thing is, I've heard this by many people are like, we don't have, it was not COVID-19 for me, it was more like COVID-30. They put 30 pounds on, right? COVID-20, COVID, like, bad joke. It's a bad joke. It is a bad joke, right? But I want you to think of this here for a minute, that not only that everybody is scared, and we've been trying to scare people for 15 months, but I want you to think that when people are in a fight or flight response, physiologically what happens is if the lion comes out of the cage, right, guess what's going to happen? You're going to run real fast for your life. And if you run real fast for your life, guess what's going to happen to your blood pressure? It's going to go up. When your blood pressure goes up, right, and you're running for your life, guess what happened? You need to have energy to do that. In order to have energy, your body needs to mobilize sugar. In order to mobilize sugar, your body needs to start cranking up cortisol into your body. Cortisol is designed to do this thing called gluconeogenesis. What that means is you're taking sugar that has been stored, now you're going to break it down, you're going to put it into sugar into your bloodstream so you can run faster. The other thing that's going to happen is if somebody was to bite you and you need to heal from that bite, right, what happens is your body needs to have cholesterol to do that. So when a person is under stress, their cholesterol always will go up. So your blood pressure is going to go up, your blood sugar is going to go up, your free fatty acid is going to go up. You're going to start mobilizing fat around your waist, which you hate, right? And then what's going to happen is your immune system is going to be downregulated. Do you know what that means? That means that if you're running for your life, your body does not care about trying to protect you from an infection. It's just trying to survive because the lion is chasing you. So when a person is stressed out, do you think their immune system is functioning to higher levels or a lower level? Of course, so we can kill you faster. How's that sound? Right? That's what they've been doing to every one of you here for the past 15 months. Because when you're stressed out, guess what happens to your immune system? It goes down. Right? And then what happened is there's a gene that's going to be downregulated into your liver, and what that means is it's going to prevent your sugar from being stored into the cell. It's going to leave it in the bloodstream. And the reason for that is because, right, when you leave sugar into the bloodstream, it allows you to run faster. The problem is you were never designed to run 24/7 for the next 20 years. You were designed for that to happen maybe for 1 hour, right? Maybe for 30 minutes, maybe when the lion just chases you for the next 30 seconds. Not 24 hours a day, in years after years after years. Do you see what I'm saying? So what happens is when a person is in a fight or flight response mode, all of the bad things that you don't like is going to happen. Your cholesterol is going to go up, your blood sugar is going to go up, your blood pressure is going to go up, right? Your fat around the waist is going to go up. When you run for your life, do you think that you're going to have the ability to think, right? If the lion is chasing you right now, do you think that if I give you a very complicated math problem, you're going to be able to think? No, you're going to be like, the heck with this, I just need to run for my life. So guess what? People stop thinking, they have brain fog, right? They're like, well, I don't know why I have brain fog. Well, of course, I do know why you have brain fog. When you're stressed out, you're going to lose your brain. You're going to go cuckoo. But that's okay. We've got a pill for that. Right? Your cholesterol is high. We've got a pill for that too. Your blood pressure is high. We've got a pill for that too. Your sugar is high. We've got a pill for that too. You're fat. We've got a pill for that too. You're happy. We've got a pill for that. You're sad. We've got a pill for that too. You can't get up in the morning. We've got a pill for that. You're anxious, we're going to give you a pill for that. Right? Do you see what I'm saying? We monitor body chemistry by giving you one more drug thinking that it's okay. Not understanding basic physiology. If I were to send any one of you here and I said, I want you to run around Gilead, 2 laps, fast as you can, you come back in this room and I take your blood pressure, what would happen? Yeah, your blood pressure would be up. Would you think you're sick? No, you'd be like, that's normal. Right? Of course it is. Guess what? If there's a bug in your body, guess what's going to happen to your temperature? It's going to go up. Why would people say, well, I'm sick? What's that mean? You're not sick, you're expressing health. People are like, really? Like, yeah. Isn't it cool? You're hot. Just go home. Put a zipper on your lips, just drink water, and you'll be okay. Right? Yes? Here you go. Right? Somebody not too long ago, we're just about done. Somebody too long ago asked me about supplements. They're like, Dr. John, yeah, I eat perfect. I don't need supplements. So number one, very few people do that. Number two is, in food science, they do studies about this food thing, all the time, because they want to know what's going on, right? So when they take food, let's say for instance, an apple 50 years ago, and they look at the nutrient content of the apple, and they do that now 50 years down the road, there's about half of the nutrient that used to be in there. So even when a person eats perfect, there's room for a person, person taking some basic stuff? The answer is yes, no doubt about it. Many of you have seen those videos before, because I've done videos on that to tell people that I think that everybody should be taking fish oil until the day they croak over. No question asked, doesn't matter who you are. Matter of fact, the American Heart Academy now is recommending people to take 1 gram of fish oil every day, which is 1,000 milligrams, which is way too low, but hey, you know what, that's a start. When they recommend people to take something that they cannot put a patent on it, that must mean something. Everybody should be taking fish oil. Everybody should be taking vitamin D every day until the day they croak over. Right? Matter of fact, 82% of people that went to the hospital with COVID, they were low in vitamin D. I don't know. Do you think that if we start taking care of ourselves better, then maybe, just maybe, right? Maybe not as many people end up at the hospital. Right? Everybody can probably, benefit from taking a whole food multi-mineral vitamins every day just because of the food that we're eating, even if it's all organic every single day, right? Then you could probably benefit from that. Every one of you here, every one of your kids, grandma, just name it, they should all, doesn't matter who you are. If you breathe and you have a spine, right, and you're a human being, those are the things that you should be taking every day, no question asked. That would be basic stuff. If there's other more fancy things that you could do, yeah, you could. I'm going to talk about this here in a minute, right? There's more things that is more fancy that you can do. That's basic stuff. Every one of you. Right? So is there room for this thing? The answer is yes. Some of you here tonight, as we're winding down on this thing, I tell people all the time, and I want to share that with you, because this is important when it comes down to your health, right? I'm pretty convicted about what I believe to be true. And I would dare to say that every one of you here, if you're trying to convince me otherwise, you'd have to get up really early in the morning to try to do that. As it relates to health. I'm open to learn more things, but I just know that number one, God wants you to be healthy. Number two, that if you don't put the right raw material in your body, you won't be able to be healthy. Right? That if we stay close to what God has for us, we have better chances to be healthy and to stay healthy. And if you think well, move on, and eat well, you have greater chances to be healthy than if you go on, on the man's track, right? The people that are really smart, that have a lot of education, right? And as a result of that, that becomes man-made, and then it's being pushed out there for sometimes not always for good reason. And I'm not telling you that some of those other things are not good ideas, right? I didn't say that. But first things first. So when it comes down to your health, it's completely you have the ability to choose whatever you want to do because that's your health. That's you. That's your health. You have a freedom of choice. But just imagine for a minute tonight, right? Just imagine whatever problems that you have, you don't do anything about the problems you have, and you wait for another 6 months or a year or 2 years. Guess what's going to happen? You think it's going to get better or worse? Knowing that something could have been done versus doing everything that you can so you have a chance to get to your bucket list. That's a big difference, right? But that's a choice. Every single choices that we make, there's consequence. There's no right choice or wrong choice. There's just choices. You make the choice, right? People all the time, they come to me like, Dr. John, yeah, I wish this so-and-so person would come and see you. I'm like, hey, you know what? They have to make that choice. I tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, this is not a dictatorship, it's a partnership. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's not a dictatorship, it's a partnership. If you want to get better, you can get better if you choose to. That's your choice. You have to make that choice. You got to be part of it. You cannot just do everything for other people that come to you because you think that you know what it's going to require, but then the person is not willing to do anything. If you're not willing to do anything, guess what? You just do your own program. You just keep doing what you were doing. See how it's working out for you. Right? That's the reason why I want to, offer you a wellness breakthrough nutritional evaluation tonight, because I want to give you an opportunity that if you choose to, that you can take the next step to say, hey, what's the next step for me? Right? What's the next step for me? So when we do our Our nutritional evaluation, there's 4 main things that we do, and there's a very specific reason why we do that, and I'll give you an example. We first have people fill out this detailed questionnaire, and the reason why we do this is because every single grouping of question that we ask people has to do with a specific system in the body. When those systems are breaking down, we know that the reason why this is happening is because there's nutritional deficiencies. So for instance, some of you here, you don't need to raise your hands, I already know there's probably many of you that, you know what, you're probably craving salt, and you're like, hey, you know what, I would take a block of salt and I'd lick it. You know, I mean, people do that. Either they want to lick salt or they want to eat sugar all the time. And either one of those problems, right, could be related to you having weak adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands are little glands on top of your kidneys. They're in charge of your energy, your stamina, your vitality, your hormones, your immune system. And when they're weak and they're going into burnout, then you're going to have like some of those symptoms. The symptoms, you could be craving salt. So some of those questions is like, hey, are you craving salt? And the reason why we ask that is because before the body has a full-blown disease, before you have cancer, there's many signs that's going to show. You might not pay attention to those signs, but from a nutritional perspective, we can see that. We can see that happening from, a distance. Number 2 is we do this thing called heart rate variability. And the heart rate variability, what it does is we can find out how the organs are functioning from the inside. Right? So if you go to Dr. Google, you type this in, heart rate variability, you're going to get thousands of hits. And then number 3 is we do this thing called the body composition analysis. We can find out where your fat is, where your water is, where your muscle is. Because when it's all said and done, what happened is I would dare to say that there's probably 9 people out of 10 here in this room that you're dehydrated. And now some of you would argue with me, which I love that. And it doesn't matter. I mean, the numbers are there, so you can argue all day long. The reason why you argue is because you're like, oh, I drink a lot of water. I'm like, okay, that's great. What happened is, drinking a lot of water doesn't mean you're hydrated. Right? It is the ability to be able to retain the water. And if you don't retain the water, then what happens is your metabolism starts going down, and then it just sets the ground for chronic illnesses. And that's the reason why we do that. Right? And last but not least is we do nutritional evaluation. And when we do nutritional evaluation, we can find out about if there's anything that is lacking in your body, or if you're toxic with something, or if you're really lucky, then you have both. Right? I'm being sarcastic. So what that means is at the cellular level, there's only 1 or 2 things that can happen. Only 1 or 2 things. I mean, is it cool? 1 or 2 things. There are 70 trillion cells in your body. Only 1 or 2 things can happen. You can either be toxic with something, or you could be lacking of something, or if you're lucky, you can have both. So what that means is we test people to see if they have problems with heavy metals, if they have problems with chemicals like chlorine or formaldehyde, or those kind of things. Right? We can find out if your spouse is trying to kill you. And then we can also find out to see if there's a lack of something in your body. So what that means is if you've been eating cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, and rice and pasta, all of your life, then what happened, the chances are that, your heart is probably weak, you're heading towards a heart attack, it's going to happen. How do we know that? Right? People look at me like, Dr. Junkie, you're mean. I'm like, how can I be mean? 5 out of 6 people are going to die from heart disease or cancer. That's pretty easy. I mean, I can put this bet on. I mean, I already know what's going to happen. It's heading in that direction. That's the truth. Right? So then once we do the evaluation, then you can build a program specifically to restore a person's health from a nutritional perspective. Right? So you can do this before a person has a heart attack. I don't know, that sounds good to me. Right? You can do this before a person has cancer. You can do this before a person has symptoms. You can do this on babies. You can do this on people that are 90 years old. You can do this on any one of you here with no exception. Doesn't matter who you are and what you think your level of health is. If you choose to, you can benefit from being healthier. Is there anyone here in this room that, could not benefit from being healthier? Anyone here in this room would say, hey, you know what? I mean, would you benefit from having more energy? Would you be okay with it? I don't know. I mean, I'd be okay with that. I mean, I go 12 hours a day, but hey, you know what? I'll take more if there's more. Because my race is not over yet. Right? So then we can build a program, and then once we build a program, then we can be very specific to find out what the needs of the person is. Right? So the wellness breakthrough nutritional evaluation, this will take you all the way through the second visit. The second visit is we're going to report to you, and when we report to you, then we're going to tell you, what the problem is, and can we help you out? And if we can help you out, what are we going to do about it? How's that sound? Right? Some of you here, you've already been involved in this. Maybe some of you have done this for years already, and you're like, hey, you know what? Yeah, done this, been there. This is what I do. When people come to our office on their first visit, we usually charge $200 to do that. People look at me, they're like, well, that's a lot of money. I'm like, hey, you know what? You can pay an hour later. Yeah. Right? You can pay $900 a pop for, kidney dialysis 3 times a week, or, you could have you know, the nutritional evaluation that can literally save your life, right? And you can have that, you can do this out of your own enjoyment right now, while you can, you know, work and pay for it. Or you can be dying on your deathbed and you can pay thousands and millions of dollars, you know, for as you're dying, we're killing you softly and, you know, enjoy your ride. You know, which one do you like more? I don't know, right? Think about this for a minute. But you know what? Some of you here tonight, you're here, and I don't know you. I love you, but I don't know you. Some of you might be like, it doesn't sound like it the way you're talking to me right now. You know that you love me because you're like, hey, that's pretty rough. I didn't want to hear that tonight, right? I love you. Matter of fact, I wouldn't be doing what I do if I didn't care about people. Every one of you here, with no exception, whether I know you or not, I love you. I truly love you. Right? And if you didn't care about your health, you know, you wouldn't be here tonight. So when you sign up for that nutritional evaluation, if you choose to, right, remember that's your choice. Right? For those people that are here tonight, we'll do that for $65. $65. And then there's going to be a person at the back. Her name is Brandy. We have 2 nutritionists here in this office. And Brandy is there. She's going to wait. Brandy's been around for she looks very young, but she's been like around for, she's older than the furniture that we have in our office. Right? She's been around for long. Right?
See that furniture? I doubt it.
So, this being said, right, I want to finish by telling you this, that, you know, I didn't tell you the end of the story, but I want to tell you the end of the story because this is important. Right, when my father left that night, right, I was 8 years old, and when he left, remember I told you that my 2 brothers, my 2 sisters were right next to me, and as he's leaving, and I asked my mom, she didn't answer, right, my father, age 40 years old, right, on his way to the hospital, my dad had a heart attack. And I never saw my dad again. If my father would have been sitting here right here tonight, 10 years prior to him dying, the chances are he would have seen me getting married. He would have seen my grandkids playing sports, but that never happened because nobody has ever taken the time to tell him really what health was all about. His idea, his paradigm about health was wrong. And I certainly don't want to have any of that misunderstanding of not knowing really what health is all about. And that's the reason why I'm here tonight. Right? So if you guys, any one of you here, you know, first I want to say thank you for being here. I want you to know that every single month at both of our offices we do classes. The reason why we do this is because I could be home. You know, I mean, I've been doing this for 22 years. I could be home. Right? I could just be sitting at home and say, hey, you know what, it's great. But there's this little fire inside of me. Actually, it's a big fire. This desire to just help people and to say, hey, you know what, you just don't know what you don't know. Some of you here tonight might be like, hey, you know what, I drove 2 hours away to be here, or I drove an hour away, or I live in another state, or I know people that live other places or another country, and it's like, hey, you know what, it's not about me. You know, we have people that live in another country, in another state every single day. If you don't like this thing about us of trying to help people and reach out to people, you're not going to like us. You're not going to like me. Right? The reason why I do what I do is because, you know what, this is dear to my heart because I've seen this, what some of you here in this room have seen of your parents and grandparents, or maybe yourself at the age of 40, 50, 60 years old. I have seen in front of my face when my dad was 30 years old. Right? And I don't wish that on any one of you here because nobody deserves that. I don't want you to know that. So what we're going to do now is, if you guys have questions, I'll answer your question. I want to say thank you for being here, but I want to encourage you to just like, hey, this is a journey. Some of you here might have been impacted by what's going on tonight, but I want you to know that there's a journey. There's more. Right? Some of you here might be having some kind of other addiction, maybe alcohol, and you go to the A meeting, and I tell people, I'm like, hey, listen, if you're addicted, you know, you've been going to the A meeting for 20 years, when are you going to stop? Never. If you want to be healthy, you're going to be around people that wants to be healthy for how long? Forever. Right? How long should you exercise for? Forever. How long should you be eating well for? Forever. Right? Whatever you want, this is what you need to put your focus on in order for you to have that. So thank you for being here. I want you to continue checking out, right, what we're doing here in this place, and what we're doing in our office in Lansing, what we're doing on a regular basis, on a monthly basis, right, to help people and to take people on this journey. Don't just it's not just about you. Remember that you probably have hundreds of friends. Bring them in, because they need to hear that too, right? Some of you have been telling your friends, but they're not listening to you. I mean, does that sound familiar? So maybe there's other people around you needing to hear that, right? They need me to yell at them, and guess what? You're like, I don't know what happened, right? I mean, I just thought maybe that you'd be interested, right? And you can just use me as leverage, right? As I'm whatever I'm doing. So again, thank you for being here. I think we're